This isn't the first time that a manager has had betted suspending for taking over a new team. That's the case with Davy Fitz at the moment. We'll wait to see if that actually happens. Now, just in terms of seeing would Galway people and people in general think he'd be a good fit, I've been doing a poll there in the last 24 hours on @Shane Saint. Slightly, people are saying, ever so slightly, that he would be a good fit for them. But there's been an awful lot of comments, and I just want to tease out some of those comments. So the first one is from Wexford GA scores. Current squad and style of play and management doesn't suit them at all. He's ours, give him back. So he's suggesting that it wouldn't suit Galway, and that's definitely a theme through an awful lot of these comments. James Murphy says he has unfinished business with the Wexicans, so he's obviously eyeing an All-Ireland title after getting to the semi-finals this year and having Tipperary on the rack for a while. Harry Byrne, Davy is always the underdog. Galway will be favourites in every game next year until semis if they get there. This is the hurling equivalent of Clough taking over Leeds. Well, Clough had savaged Leeds in terms of comments about them and saying they were dirty players and the whole lot. Not sure that Davy Fitz has done that, but I can see the idea that he's been managing a rival for the past few years, and now all of a sudden he'd take over. Even Davy was manager of Waterford all the way back in 2011 when they beat them in a quarter final of the All-Ireland down in Semple Stadium. Joe Sullivan, Davy works better as an underdog. That's definitely a theme. Declan Hanley saying he's too temperamental. Mark Coughlin, he'll either be a resounding success and win a couple of All-Irelands, or he'll be a complete disaster that will end in tears, falling out with the players, county board, etc., and set us back years. Everything crossed, presuming he means fingers there. Yeah, I mean, there's no guarantee that it'll be one or the other. He might get close. I mean, Anthony Cunningham got very close in a number of years. Davy Fitz, Micheál Donoghue got close before getting there for a finish. So you just don't know. And even in terms of setting us back years, falling out, I mean, sure, the players fell out with Anthony Cunningham and they decided to heave him out in 2015, and yet they go on to win an All-Ireland a couple of years later. So just because there's a bad relationship with one manager, that doesn't mean that the players in the county can't bounce back. And obviously we know that there's a lot of talk about there being financial issues in Galway, and things aren't exactly, there is a bit of hassle in the castle by all accounts. So if they get the right man in, I'm pretty sure that they'll start motoring again, and they weren't that far away anyway. Owen Egan says no, they've had success in the past. I don't think they would buy into Davy's style. Wexford were coming from a far lower base than Galway, so they were more receptive to his message. There is an element in that a team that hasn't had success, they're willing to do whatever. That's not to say that Galway wouldn't, but definitely when a team has been down in the doldrums, Wexford had made a bit of a breakthrough with Liam Dunn and kicked on a little bit. But when a team has a bit of distance to go, I think there's an automatic sense of buy-in if a manager is pushing in the right direction. Daisha Red, no, too defensive for them. Stephen Allen says Loughnane memories, so that was Loughnane's two-year tenure back in the noughties that didn't go particularly well. Alex Gifford, should be exciting in any case. Ryan, too many personalities. I mean, I don't know if that's true or not. Definitely, as I said, this team did give the last manager the heave-ho, a certain amount of these players, so we'll see. They're obviously not shy of opinions and backing their own stance. Martin Costello, he plays a terrible brand of hurling. Galway should do everything they can to get Donoghue back, or at least look at Franny Ford for the job. There definitely has been talk of that the players don't want to get rid of Micheál Donoghue, and he's had Franny Ford with him, so that would be a suggestion of continuity. But terrible brand of hurling, I'm not necessarily sure, and that's definitely a comment that comes up again, as we'll see. But I think it's a pragmatic style of hurling. If you feel like your forwards aren't going to score enough, or if there's a bit of an open door at the back, why wouldn't you close it? I mean, not every team has got 6 knockout forwards or 6 unbelievable backs, so I think you've got to work with what you have. And just because they've had Kevin Foley and Sean Murphy as a sweeper in the last while, that doesn't mean that the hurling was terrible. There are times when two teams, when you look at the way tactics have evolved, the two teams will sort of cancel each other out a little bit, and that can lead to some stale games. But Wexford have been involved in some unbelievable games also, so I wouldn't just put it down to them or Davy Fitz. Sean McGulla-Podrick says, I think he'll stagger the creativity of their forwards, not to mention that with a full back like Dahi Burke, Galway don't need a sweeper. I mean, I saw with Dahi Burke this year, we've all seen he's a brilliant player and he's won a number of All-Stars in a row, but even in the final round of the Leinster Championship when Galway were knocked out this year, he was up against a different type of player, a smaller, kind of fast, tricky player with a change of direction like Oisin O'Rourke, and definitely he had trouble with him. So there are times when you will need protection as a full back, no matter who you are, because everybody comes up against someone that doesn't necessarily suit how they play, especially if the right ball goes in. James Richardson says it's perfect. Too many on the team have gotten too comfortable with their place and haven't performed in 2 years. Time for a major shake-up. I think there is an element of that with Galway, that there are a lot of players that no matter what, they always seem to get picked, and no matter how they've been playing. Stevie Ford, I think he'll get an All-Ireland and fall out with everyone. I mean, he's been there in Wexford for 3 years and everyone seems to love him. Elvis McNick, not convinced his particular brand of Clare lunacy would be a right fit for Galway. With the odd exemptions, the Galway backs have never required a 7th defender. Dennis Fogarty, slightly longer comment, but worth looking at. They definitely have the hurlers to implement his style. Galway, like Tip a couple of years ago, became too reliant on landing in high ball, unfavourable for forwards. With his appointment, he'll get them running off the shoulder, taking scores from distance. Lads like Cooney, Canning, etc. are all capable of it. Interesting would he deploy the 7th defender when they have so many capable backs. Tough task managing those group of players after Donoghue, who they clearly respected. I think if you get someone in who's a good manager, they'll row in behind him. I don't think necessarily because you respected Micheál Donoghue and now he's gone and maybe you're not happy with how that went, that you therefore wouldn't respect the next man in. Of course you would. And in terms of good defenders, no doubt they've plenty of good defenders. Dahi Burke, Grode McInerney, Pádraig Mannion, there's plenty there. So they're not shy. But maybe like every other team, they have 15 good players and not too many more. Even if you just look in the past year, the fact that Donoghue was starting players that were no longer living in the country full time, Johnny Glynn and Joseph Cooney, that would suggest that they don't have the deepest panel going. But I think that's the case for pretty much every team these days. Sean Moore, much different job to Wexford. There won't be any parades for Davy if he wins the Leinster title. It's all Ireland or bust. Fair comment too, they don't deal in Leinster titles. Joe Cahill, Eamon O'Shea would be my choice to replace Donoghue. Mike Leavin is a massive loss. Davy will be classed as a failure if he doesn't win the All-Ireland, and the type of hurling doesn't suit. Now Eamon Donoghue is involved with Killer One McDonough's this year and last year. They won a North title last year, got knocked out in the semi-final or quarter-final by Killadangan this year, and are still in the mix for the county title. His son does play and has played for the underages in Galway. He's based up there, but having been involved with Tip this past year, I wouldn't be so sure that he'd jump ship. I mean, Galway's last manager, Micheál Donoghue, was involved with Tip and then jumped ship back to Galway. So I don't think Tip would be too happy if someone inside the lines went across again. Swamp Yankee with the final comment. Love to see what Davy could do with these hurlers. Staying with Wexford would be my gut feeling, but my God, that is some driving that I admit I wasn't thinking about, which is basically the guts of 3 hours each way. It will be an hour less at least each way. He wins, so Galway could do a lot worse, and that is true. That is the facts of it. At the end of the day, he won Munster with a Waterford team that was a little bit unfashionable at the time. They'd definitely gone on the far side of their peak. He won an All-Ireland with Clare. He won a league with Clare. And he went and he won Leinster with Wexford. So as far as Galway are concerned, given that there aren't 1,000,001 options that jump out at you, Jeffrey Linsky's had underage success. Matty Kenny is obviously with Dublin at the moment and has ruled himself out. Franny Ford is there. There are a couple of other guys that you could mention, but I mean, there are plenty of counties out there that would be very happy to take Davy Fitz.